Hello, my nails. Hammer Plays here to hammer some information to your head. Now, little update. I know y'all are probably wondering where does this gameplay come from. Came from YouTube. It's just a full walkthrough of Battlefield 4. Cause I can't record anything right now because my Roxio install disk is actually in my computer, and I have to unscrew the disk drive to get everything situated. So uh, yeah, please, hold on. Please be patient for the gameplay or whatever to come from me, funtages, anything like that. Another update thingy. I was wrong about when I would be getting the computer replaced. That's actually going to happen a little bit sooner than I thought. I thought what was going to happen was it was going to be like months or something like that before I could get a new computer, but actually I can probably get one soon enough. It's just that, you know, I thought that, it would take a longer time. Anyways, to the gameplay commentary. I've been thinking, what should the next Battlefield be? Now, I kind of think this because I remember I was just in the Lefty live stream, and Lefty was asked the question, what would be a good for the next Battlefield? And he said a few interesting ideas. He said that he would like for them to go revisit the Vietnam era. And I think so too. That was actually Bad Company 2, Vietnam. Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam was probably one of the most innovative, different, cool, one of the cooler. I gotta say, it was one of the cooler DLCs for Battlefield, and especially Bad Company 2. And in Bad Company 2, the Vietnam DLC just worked perfectly. And I'm actually surprised that they didn't go revisit it, because it deserved revisiting. But not only did it deserve revisiting, but the game, Vietnam, was actually probably one of those things that kept me playing Bad Company 2. I thought it was a cool DLC. Not only was it just a cool DLC, but it was really fun. And it just brought me back to kind of a time where you didn't have to have a game where it was in the modern era where everyone was using high-tech weapons and everyone had their red dot scopes and everything was all high-tech and shit. It was just kind of past-ish. It wasn't a World War II shooter. It wasn't this kind of like we're going back really far in time. It didn't feel like that. There was helicopters, jets. I mean, there wasn't any jets that you could fly, but I mean, they had them for ambience. So there was helicopters and stuff like that, but it wasn't like everyone had these like high tech weapons, which is kind of the thing I missed from Vietnam DLC and World War II DLC. Not in the World War II games, is that everyone wasn't this kind of like high tech soldier that we've come to know. I mean, I do kind of like the whole ragtag feeling of Bad Company 2. That's probably why it's one of my favorite Battlefields. It's very ragtag, and it's very kind of, how everything doesn't really feel like you're in control of, or, it doesn't feel like this high tech thing. You know, Bad Company 2 just had aspects that were. Sorry, I'm tired. But I mean, it had aspects in it that just kind of brought everything together as you weren't this, like, badass military guy. You were, the underdog, basically. And the whole B company, was not, this whole big and badass, Ghost Squad or anything like that. And I guess that's what set it apart from the Call of Duty campaigns, since it wasn't serious. It was, kind of fun. It was just for fun. But I think I'm still set on one thing for the next Battlefield game. 2143. Gotta say, 2143 is the step in the right direction. Call of Duty, what's been lately, Call of Duty lately has been kind of going into the future, and you may have your own feelings about that, but I kind of like it. I like this near future era, just like how I like the near past era. You know, it's not like everything is like all high tech and shit. You know, there's a few cool gadgets that you have now in your disposal. But what do I like better? The past era or the future era? Well, the reason why it depends on with 2143 is because 2143 is this long-awaited title, I guess. But not only that, but if it's a Battlefield game in the future, and now we have all this new stuff. DICE has added so much since 2142. And 2142 was just like this big step in the right direction that made like the whole Battlefield just make it seem tons more epic. And I think if you would just add destruction, levolution, uh, things like uh, things like smoother vehicle controls, all that stuff would just make it a lot, and I'm saying a lot more kind of epic. And I think Titan mode, which was the most epic mode of all in all Battlefield history, even more epic than Rush, just deserves this comeback and deserves this, kind of just reimagining. But it hasn't gotten it. Another thing I would like to say is that the whole Battlefield universe just worked with 2142. Again, vehicles, you know, epic game modes and shit like that is cool. And that's what Battlefield's all about. Epic stuff, big battles, the feeling of cinema or action just going on all the time, but it's non-scripted. Now, what could they do if they wanted to bring back a Vietnam era or past era like World War II? Well, here's the reason why I liked 1943. 1943 was simplistic. Again, this is why I want to go back to, the older eras, or maybe, back to like the older ways Battlefield used to be. It's more simplistic. The way Battlefield 4 is complicated isn't even like a understatement. It is complicated. You got your battle packs, you got all these, different attachments that do different things. You got different ways to unlock them. It's really, really, really kind of, it's big. It's just so big and confusing, and you kind of want to scale things back a bit. Now, 1943 deserved to be its own title overall. It did not deserve to be a $15 download on XBLA. It deserved much more. Because, one, when I meant scaled back, oh, Jesus, did they scale it back. The whole game was, literally, you had three classes, you had three classes, and you had, I think, no, there was no customizable weapons. So you had three classes, all of them had their weapons, and that was it. That was it, basically. You had the three classes, all of them had their weapons, and that's it. That was too far scaled back. There should have been a little bit more, going down in 1943. In 1943, I think there should have at least been at least a little bit of customization, or at least a little bit, or like maybe 5 or 6 classes. Maybe just, the same classes that they had in 1942. Also, they had little maps, very little maps. There was only Wake Island. There was I can barely remember, but the main map that everyone played was Wake Island. But it's ridiculous how scaled back that game was when EA and Dice, they had a really good idea, or Dice had a really good idea with that 1943 thing. And if they were to just bring it, at least if they were to make like a PC port for 1943, or make a whatchamacallit, or if they made like a let's a 1944, I think that would have been a better thing. And maybe that's why I want 2143. Is that is that 2142 takes me back to that era where it was simpler, but it also reminds me on 1943, on how 1943 could have just been a little bit better if they added a little bit more stuff. And that's all I want. I want 2142 with like extremely beautiful graphics. I'm telling you that the graphics would be beautiful. But one thing I want to say about the Battlefield series, and where it's going in general, there's a few things I want to improve. With 2143, or whatever their next title is, which I'm saying you have to do it with these two titles. These two titles, they have to be the introduction for this. 2143 or okay, so 2143 or Bad Company 3. You have to do this. Full on destruction. I mean full on destruction. Everything's destructible. Everything's like, you can destruct things by a lot. You can blow shit up like really big, or you can, just blow shit up a little bit. You can do that. You can, make a small hole in the wall, because that dynamic factor is a little bit better. Because I don't like shooting a rocket at a wall and it does the same amount of damage to the wall than a tank does. I don't like that. But, that's just a small feature. But fully destructible, I want that, because I want everything to be able to fall directly to the ground, or something like that. And the next thing is going to be you can add this or not add this, but I want the full on destruction thing. That has to be added. But this can be optional, but however, this is something I really, 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 really want. Big servers, and I'm talking like 64 v 64. Yes, 128 players or more. 100 players, 150 players, like 128. Because Forgotten Hope 2, which was like the World War II Battlefield 2 mod, had 128 player servers, and there should be tons more. There should be tons more players than the average 64 that we have right now. Right now, the average 64 is a boring battle. It's not all that boring, but it is a kind of a boring battle. The battle's not all that fun all the time. We have a few good moments. We have a few epic moments. We have some times where we're having a constantly good time, but we still have those. Still have a few moments. Now, and this doesn't happen all the time, but we still have a few moments where we're just walking around, or we're just wondering what do we do, or where's my buddy, or what do we, what's the next step, We have a lot of that still in the Battlefield series. And to get rid of that, I think what would be a good option is up the player count. Now, you may be saying, oh, well, console, I don't know if they're going to be able to handle that, Console, I don't know if they'd be able to handle that at, the best settings. Well, here's the thing. For one, Battlefield 4 is a CPU hog. And I'm saying CPU hog because it, on any computer, any hardware, like Xbox One, PS4, the game is a CPU hog. And maybe if they were to optimize the engine to be a little bit more, tighter, a little bit more fluent, maybe the game would be a little bit less, hard on CPUs. Now, let's drop the CPU and tech talk and shit like that. Let's talk about, overall how this would work out. For one, you don't have to have 60 frames a second. In my opinion, you don't. It's not all. I mean, for console, it doesn't matter as long as the frame rate is consistent. Console players don't really, kind of care about the frame rate all too much. Now they might, I sure do care about the frame rate. But I mean, when I'm on console, the reason why I'm playing console, if I'm playing because my friends, and or because of racing games and things that aren't good on PC. Now, here's another thing that you got to think about: is do console players, you know, want these big battles or anything like that? Because I mean, some of these console players from Battlefield come from the whole 24 players, and stuff like that. The whole 24 player thing. But let's just forget about that. But what I think is that bigger servers, bigger battles would be great, and I think that should be introduced in 2143 more than Bad Company 3. But if Bad Company 3 came in with full on destruction and full on like more players per server, and they had like a sick ass trailer too, and I've just been kind of having this vision in my head for a Bad Company 3 trailer, and I'm talking about like Haggard Haggard throws like the Bad Company grenade at like the screen, and then then like you, the Bad Company squad's like riding on a helicopter and like in this like city, and it's like Dawnbreaker ish, and like there's just like the helicopter kind of hits the glass on like a building, and it just reveals to see this kind of mini battle going on inside of the building. And then let's add on to that, let's add on to that and make it so that like that building comes down, some people parachute out of it, and then on the ground there's still like tank battles going on, buildings are falling down and stuff like that. Then it like cuts to a different style of map, that like is different. That's like a mountain, and then the mountain like kind of crumbles apart and comes down and hits people because a tank shot at it. All these things would really be nice for the series, and I think that's would be a step in the right direction. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and favorite. I will try to release these every day, since my computer is of course might take a while. It's not gonna take as long as I thought, but it will take a little bit. Anyways, guys, I will see you next time.